3:17 a.m. again? Your eyes snap open without warning, as if something inside you just flipped a switch. There's no sound, no movement, nothing in the room that explains it. And yet your awareness is instantly sharp, almost unnaturally clear. It doesn't feel like waking up slowly. It feels like you were activated, like your brain skipped the entire process of sleep and went straight to alert. And in that exact moment, something already feels off. Your body is still heavy against the bed, completely exhausted from the day, but your mind doesn't match that state at all. It feels awake, aware, and strangely engaged for no reason. Thoughts begin forming without effort, one after another. Not necessarily anxious, but active enough to keep you there. And the more you notice it, the harder it becomes to ignore. Almost like something in your brain refuses to fully let go. And then comes the part that makes no sense at all. The more you try to fall back asleep, the further sleep seems to move away. Your breathing changes slightly, your awareness increases, your body tenses just enough. You shift positions, close your eyes tighter, try to relax, but it doesn't work. Because this isn't just about trying harder or calming down. What's happening right now follows a pattern most people never realize. And once you see it, you'll understand why this keeps happening at the same time every night. I'm Dr. Sarah, a sleep medicine specialist with a background in psychiatry. And over the years, I've worked with thousands of people just like you, especially those over 40 who suddenly find their sleep changing without warning. People who feel completely drained during the day but wired at night. Who lie in bed expecting rest but instead feel their mind turn on. And who wake up at 3 a.m. with no clear reason and no easy way back to sleep. And almost all of them arrive with the same quiet frustration. They tell me they feel exhausted, but their brain won't cooperate. They describe a racing mind that seems to activate the moment they lie down. Or they fall asleep normally at first, only to wake up hours later feeling alert. Not anxious necessarily, just awake in a way that doesn't make sense. They try to relax, breathe slower, clear their thoughts, but nothing changes. And over time, they begin to question what's wrong with them, because it feels like their own brain is working against them. Many of them ask the exact same question, almost word for word. Why does my brain feel like it won't shut off, even when I'm exhausted? And underneath that question, there's something deeper they're really asking. Why can't I stay asleep through the night like I used to? Why does this keep happening at the same time? Why does my body feel tired, but my mind refuses to follow? And that's where the real misunderstanding begins. Because most people are told it's just stress, or overthinking, or poor habits. They're told to relax more, think less, follow better routines. And while those things can help on the surface, they don't explain this pattern. They don't explain why your brain turns on at such a specific moment. They don't explain why you can't fall back asleep once you wake up. And they definitely don't explain why this keeps repeating night after night. Which means the real cause is still being missed. The truth is, what's happening here isn't about effort or discipline. It's not that you're doing something wrong before bed, and it's not that your body forgot how to sleep. What's happening goes deeper than habits or daily stress. It's tied to a specific shift inside the brain itself, a shift that changes how your system behaves at night. And once that shift happens, everything starts to feel different. Because in that moment when you wake up and feel fully alert, your brain is no longer operating in normal sleep mode. It has transitioned into something else entirely. something that overrides the natural sleep process, something that keeps your system active when it should be resting. And understanding what that something is where everything begins to change. You might notice something subtle starting to happen as the night begins. Your body slows down, but your thoughts don't fully follow. Your mind starts moving just a little faster than it should. Not overwhelming, but active enough to keep you aware. Your muscles don't completely release, even when you try to relax. And your sleep, when it comes, feels lighter than it used to, almost like you never fully drop into it. Or maybe you fall asleep without much trouble at first. Everything seems normal for a few hours. Your body rests, your breathing deepens, and your mind quiets. But then, without warning, you wake up again. Not gradually, but instantly aware of being awake. And even though it's still the middle of the night, something feels different, like your system has shifted into another state. And when that moment happens, a new pattern begins. You stay still, hoping sleep will come back naturally. You close your eyes, waiting for your mind to slow down again. But instead, your awareness increases little by little. Your thoughts begin to organize themselves again. Your body feels slightly more alert than it should at that hour, and you start realizing this isn't passing quickly. So you try to go back to sleep more intentionally. You adjust your position, control your breathing, try to relax. You tell yourself to let go, to stop thinking, to drift off again. But the more you try, the more present your mind becomes. It's not chaotic, it's not panic, it's just on. Steady, aware, and unwilling to fully disengage, like a system that refuses to power down. At some point, it begins to feel like a switch is stuck, not broken, but locked in the wrong position. You're not fully awake, but you're definitely not asleep. You're caught somewhere in between those two states, and no matter what you do, that balance doesn't easily shift, which makes the whole experience feel confusing and frustrating because it doesn't respond to effort the way you expect. This is where most people completely misunderstand what's happening. They think the issue is simply falling asleep again. They assume they just need to relax more or think less. But that explanation never fully fits the experience, because the real problem isn't just about starting sleep. It's about something inside the brain interrupting sleep itself. And what's causing that interruption is not what most people imagine. The real issue isn't that your brain is too active. It's not random overthinking or a lack of control. And it's definitely not because you can't relax enough. What you're experiencing has a much more specific origin, something structured, predictable, and deeply biological, something that follows a pattern even if it feels chaotic. And once you see it, the entire experience starts to make sense. Because what's actually happening is this: your brain has entered a very specific state, a state designed to prioritize awareness over rest. A state where staying alert becomes more important than sleeping, not consciously, not by choice, but automatically. And when this state activates, your entire system shifts with it, including your ability to stay asleep through the night. In this state, sleep is no longer the brain's main objective, even if your body is exhausted and ready to rest. Even if you did everything right before going to bed, the internal priority has already changed. And once that shift happens, sleep becomes unstable, lighter, more fragile, easier to interrupt, and much harder to return to once it's broken.
Sleep science now has a name for this pattern. It's called the neural sleep inhibition response, a term used to describe the brain's built-in defense mode at night, a mechanism that temporarily blocks deep, restorative sleep. not because something is wrong, but because something feels off internally. And when this response is active, sleep is no longer fully allowed. It's regulated, restricted, and sometimes interrupted completely. Once the neural sleep inhibition response activates, the brain shifts into what we call brain alert mode, a state where awareness stays partially online, even when the body is supposed to be fully asleep. Your senses quiet down, but your internal monitoring stays active, which is why you can wake up suddenly, fully aware, without any clear external trigger. And this can happen at any point during the night, but for many people it happens at a very specific window, right when the body should be at its deepest rest, often around 3 a.m., sometimes within the same exact range nightly. Which is not random and not coincidental, because something is triggering this shift with precision, and that trigger is where everything becomes even more revealing. Inside your brain, sleep depends on a very precise internal balance, not just being tired, but being regulated in the right way. Your system is constantly measuring signals, even while you sleep, and those signals determine whether sleep deepens or gets interrupted. This process is automatic and happens without your awareness, but when it shifts, you feel the effects immediately, especially in the middle of the night. Melatonin is responsible for signaling the body to rest. It tells your system that it's safe to power down. Cortisol, on the other hand, controls alertness and activation. It's meant to rise in the morning and stay low at night. Your nervous system constantly evaluates your internal sense of safety, not external danger, but subtle physiological signals, and all three must stay in balance for sleep to remain stable. When everything is aligned, something powerful happens. The brain activates what we can call the sleep switch, a coordinated state where the body fully lets go. Breathing slows, muscles release, and awareness fades. This is where deep, restorative sleep becomes possible, and once that state is reached, the brain maintains it naturally, without effort, without interruption, without resistance. But when that balance is disrupted, even slightly, things change. The brain begins to detect a mismatch in those internal signals. It doesn't interpret it as danger in the traditional sense, but it does interpret it as uncertainty, and in response to that uncertainty, it adapts. Not by shutting down, but by staying partially active, and that's when the shift begins. Instead of deepening sleep, the brain activates the neural sleep inhibition response, a mechanism designed to keep part of your awareness online. Your body may still appear asleep from the outside, but internally your system is maintaining a level of vigilance, enough to wake you up quickly if needed, enough to prevent you from dropping into deeper stages of sleep, and enough to keep the cycle going without you realizing why. This is not because something is wrong with you. It's not failure and it's not dysfunction. It's your brain trying to protect stability in the only way it knows, by keeping you closer to awareness instead of full shutdown, by holding you in a lighter, more responsive state even when you consciously want to sleep. But that leads to a much deeper question. Why would your brain decide to do this at night? Why activate alertness when everything around you is quiet? Why interrupt sleep at such a specific moment? And why does it happen over and over again for some people? Because there is a trigger behind this shift, a pattern that explains when and why it happens, and that pattern becomes even clearer when you look at what follows. Once this response becomes active, the experience changes immediately. You wake up at 3 a.m. without any clear external cause. Your eyes open and your awareness is already fully present. Your mind begins to move, sometimes fast, sometimes subtly active. Your body feels slightly tense, even if you were relaxed before, and there's a quiet sense that something inside you is now on, even though just moments ago you were completely asleep. This shift can feel confusing because it happens so abruptly. One moment you're in deep rest, and the next you're aware again. There's no gradual transition, no slow waking process. It feels like a direct switch from sleep to alertness, and that contrast is what makes it so noticeable, because your body still feels tired, but your mind doesn't follow, and that mismatch becomes impossible to ignore.
As soon as you realize you're awake, you try to go back to sleep. You close your eyes, adjust your position, slow your breathing. You expect your body to return to where it was before, but something doesn't respond the same way anymore. Your thoughts don't fully slow down, your awareness doesn't fade like it normally would, and the process of falling back asleep feels blocked. And this is where frustration begins to build, because the more you try, the less natural it feels. Sleep stops being automatic and starts feeling forced. Your attention stays active instead of drifting away, and even small sensations become more noticeable, which keeps your system engaged instead of relaxed and makes it harder to let go again. The reason for this is not mental, it's biological. Your brain is not choosing to stay awake, it is responding to a state that has already been activated, a state where the system is no longer optimized for sleep, but instead optimized for awareness and monitoring. And in that state, returning to deep sleep becomes difficult, not because you're doing something wrong, but because of how the system is set. That's why so many people can't fall asleep again after waking up, even when they feel completely exhausted physically. Because exhaustion alone doesn't override this response. The brain is following a different priority in that moment, one that keeps part of your awareness online and prevents you from fully disengaging from your surroundings. But there's another layer that makes this even more pronounced. And that layer becomes especially important if you've noticed these patterns starting later in life. If sleep used to be easier, deeper, more consistent, and now it feels lighter, more fragile, more interrupted. Because for many people, this shift becomes more noticeable after 40, not as a problem, but as a change in how the system responds. And understanding that change reveals something most people never see. After 40, something subtle begins to shift inside the brain. Not suddenly, but gradually over time. Sleep doesn't disappear, but it starts to feel different, more sensitive, more reactive, less stable than before. You may notice it takes longer to fully unwind at night, or that your sleep becomes easier to interrupt, even if your routine hasn't changed at all. One of the key changes involves cortisol and circadian rhythm. Your brain becomes more responsive to small fluctuations in both. Cortisol, which should stay low at night, becomes less predictable. Even a slight increase can trigger alertness at the wrong time, and your circadian rhythm may shift earlier or become less stable, which affects how deeply and for how long you stay asleep, without you consciously noticing the shift happening.
Melatonin timing also begins to change with age. It may be released earlier, later, or in a less consistent pattern, which means your sleep window becomes more fragile. You might fall asleep, but not stay in deep sleep as long, or wake up before your body is fully restored. And once that happens, returning to sleep becomes harder because the internal timing is no longer perfectly aligned. At the same time, your nervous system becomes more reactive, not in a dramatic way, but in a subtle physiological sense. It becomes more sensitive to internal signals. Small changes in breathing, heart rate, or tension are detected faster, and the brain responds to those signals more quickly, even when there is no real danger present, which creates a state of increased nighttime awareness. This doesn't mean something is wrong with you. It doesn't mean your brain is malfunctioning or broken. It means your system has become more responsive over time, more efficient at detecting and reacting to changes, which can be helpful during the day but disruptive at night, because that same responsiveness can interfere with deep sleep, especially when the system misinterprets internal signals. And this is what makes it easier for the brain to enter the neural sleep inhibition response, a state where sleep becomes lighter and more easily interrupted, and where staying asleep through the night becomes more difficult. This is why many people suddenly experience insomnia after 40, not because they lost the ability to sleep, but because the brain changed how it protects sleep. Over time, this pattern doesn't just repeat, it builds on itself. Nights become more fragmented without a clear explanation. Sleep feels lighter, less restorative, and easier to interrupt. Your mind becomes more active at the exact moment you need it to quiet down. And even when you do sleep, it doesn't feel like true rest. You wake up with the sense that something never fully shut off, and that feeling starts to carry into your days. The fatigue begins to feel different from normal tiredness. It's not just physical, it's mental and persistent. Focus becomes harder to maintain throughout the day. Simple tasks require more effort than they used to, and there's a subtle tension that never fully leaves your system. Even when you try to relax, something stays slightly active, as if your brain never completely resets overnight. And then something even more subtle begins to happen. You start anticipating the moment you might wake up again, not consciously at first, but it's there in the background, a quiet expectation that the pattern will repeat itself. And that anticipation alone begins to shape your nights, because the brain starts preparing for interruption, even before anything actually happens. So this is where the cycle reinforces itself. The brain becomes more aware during the night, more sensitive to small internal changes, and more likely to activate that alert state again. Not because it has to, but because it has learned the pattern. And once a pattern is learned, the brain follows it automatically, unless something interrupts that loop at its source. But here's what most people never get told. This pattern is not fixed, and it's not permanent. Your brain is not stuck this way forever. It hasn't lost the ability to produce deep sleep. It has simply adapted to a certain set of signals, and when those signals change, the response can change too, which means the cycle itself can be reversed. And more importantly, it doesn't require forcing sleep to happen. It doesn't come from shutting the brain down artificially or trying to fight against your own system at night. The shift happens when the brain begins to feel safe again, when the internal signals return to a stable pattern, and when the system no longer needs to stay alert. But how those signals are restored is what most people never fully understand. The goal is not to force your body into sleep. It's not about shutting your brain down or sedating your system. And it's definitely not about fighting against your own biology, because the more you try to force sleep, the more resistance you create. What actually works follows a completely different direction, one that aligns with how the brain naturally regulates rest. And it starts by understanding what the brain truly needs at night. The real objective is to help your brain exit brain alert mode, to gently reduce the neural sleep inhibition response over time, to stabilize cortisol levels so they don't spike at the wrong moment, and to allow the natural sleep switch to activate without interference. This is not about adding pressure, but removing internal resistance. Not about control, but about restoring balance, so the brain can return to what it already knows how to do. Some people begin this process through behavioral adjustments, improving nighttime routines and reducing overstimulation, creating a more stable circadian rhythm throughout the day, and supporting the nervous system in subtle but consistent ways. For some, this is enough to gradually restore sleep stability, but for others, especially when the pattern has been present for a while, the system may need a deeper level of support. Because once the brain has adapted to staying alert at night, it doesn't always shift back immediately on its own. The pattern becomes familiar, almost automatic, and even small internal signals can trigger it again, which is why some sleep specialists recommend additional support, not to override the brain, but to work with it and to help guide it back into a stable state. So this is where natural, doctor-approved nighttime support can play a role, designed to complement the brain's existing sleep mechanisms, not forcing sedation, but supporting regulation, helping stabilize the internal signals that influence sleep, and making it easier for the brain to disengage at night. If you're curious about the option many people are using, you'll find it in the first pinned comment. No pressure, no urgency, and no unrealistic promises, just something designed to support the system that controls sleep. Because if you've been waking up at 3 a.m. without explanation, feeling like your brain won't shut off when you need it to, or struggling to stay asleep through the night consistently, what you're experiencing is not random, and it's not something you caused. It's your brain entering a neural sleep inhibition response, a state that can be understood, adjusted, and gradually reversed.
And when the right signals are restored, sleep becomes natural again, not forced, not fragile, but stable and continuous. But there's something even more precise happening beneath all of this, a reason why this activation tends to occur at the same exact time. And that timing reveals something most people have never been shown. Because for many people, this isn't happening randomly during the night. It follows a narrow window that repeats with surprising consistency, often between 3 a.m. and 3:30 a.m., almost like a programmed response. And once you understand why that specific window exists, you begin to see the full mechanism with complete clarity, which is exactly what we're going to break down next. And once you see it, you won't interpret your sleep the same way again.